Our kids are the most anxious generation in history, and it's not because of screens, it's not because of school pressure. It's because we accidentally built them a childhood with everything in it except the one thing a soul cannot live without: meaning. And once you see how we did it, you can undo it. In this video, I'm going to show you the 3 ways modern childhood quietly stole meaning from our kids' lives. And then I'll give you 3 connections that bring back meaning, with practical habits for each one of them. Habits that won't cost you anything, I promise. Let's start with what anxiety actually is, because it's not what you think. Anxiety is actually a symptom of disconnection. A few years ago, a national survey in the UK found that 80% of people feel that their lives are meaningless. In the US, many youth experience periods of pointlessness in their lives. Social psychologist Jonathan Haidt argues that the shift to phone-based childhood has led to an increase in adolescents who feel that their lives lack purpose. At the same time, there is a sharp rise in youth and kids' mental health in the past 2 decades. Those are troubling truths. But let me tell you why I'm sharing this with you. Different schools of thought, including logotherapy founded by Viktor Frankl, argue that meaninglessness predicts anxiety and depression. The cognitive scientist John Vervaeke explains that meaninglessness and anxiety both stem from disorientation and disconnection. A child who doesn't know where they belong, what's real, and what matters cannot feel meaning and cannot feel safe. Anxiety is amplified when we lose connection to what is real. And this is what I will address later in this video, which raises one real question, the one this whole video turns on. Our children are more protected, more educated, more scheduled, and more invested in than in any other generation. So how did disconnection take over their lives? How did their meaning disappear? That's what I'm going to share in 1 minute. But before I break it down, I want to ask you something. Picture your child's typical weekday, hour, from wake up to sleep. Now ask yourself, in that entire day, how many minutes were not for something? Not preparation, not achievement, not practice, just for life itself. Write the numbers in the comments below. That number is going to matter in a few minutes. So let's start talking about the 3 ways our kids lost their sense of meaning, and right after that, I will share what we can do in order to get it back. The first way is that a childhood always happens later. Look at how our modern school system is built. From the first year, kindergarten is getting ready for first grade. First grade prepares them for second grade. Elementary school prepares them for middle school to high school to university, university to career. You get the point. From age 4, we hand our children one consistent message. Now is not what matters. What matters is what's going to be next. And what about play? The child's nature way of being fully alive in the present gets squeezed out as not productive. Academics are pushed down into ages where children are supposed to be playing, wondering, and imagining. But the thing is that meaning only exists in the present. Nobody can feel meaning later. A child who is always getting ready for the next thing is never really here. And a child who is never really here just lives in a disconnection. We taught them that the present has no value, and then we're surprised that they feel that nothing has value. And there's a second message here. The message is that your worth is in your achievement, in your grades, in your scores, in the level, your acceptance. Everything is external proof, always external. But external achievements are bottomless. Every goal that is reached is instantly replaced by the next one. The child is never really arriving. The second way is that we lost the connection to nature. There's a book that every parent should read, Last Child in the Woods by Richard Louv. Louv gave a name to what is happening to this generation of children. He calls it natural deficit disorder. In one generation, children moved indoors. Our grandparents' childhood and even our childhood happened in the fields, in the streams, in the trees, in the streets. But our children's childhood is happening in the room, in cars, and in screens. The radius that a child is allowed to roam has shrunk to almost nothing. Now, why does this matter for anxiety? Because nature is where a child meets life itself. Dirt that is really dirty, water that is really cold, a tree that was here before them and will be here after them. In nature, a child experiences beauty that asks nothing of them. No grade, no score, no readiness. It's the creator's world speaking directly to the child's soul. A child who never touches the real world starts to feel that nothing is quite real, including themselves. And a childhood without beauty is a childhood without one of the soul's deepest sources of meaning. By taking away nature, we took out the child's direct connection to wonder, awe, and flow. The third way that we took out meaning from our children's lives is that the family became a taxi service. The family used to be the child's first and deepest circle of belonging, a small world where they mattered. They were embedded in a community that knew their name. Look at the modern family calendar. What actually organizes our week? For so many families, it's sports and activities. Practice schedules decide when we eat. Tournaments decide our weekends and holidays. The family table, the ancient center of connection, sits empty while everyone is chasing their own individual achievements. Now, I'm not against sports, but notice what happened. The activities that were supposed to serve the family have become the master of the family, and the family became the servant. Shared meals, unhurried conversations, community, extended family, simply being together with no agenda, everything got subordinated to the schedule. I once had a conversation with someone who told me that her nieces and nephews didn't come to their grandparents' 90th birthday because they had a sport practice. It seems that we got all our values upside down. Now, you can say that our kids today get their sense of belonging from being part of a sports team. But that is true as long as they are playing the sport itself. The moment they stop playing, there is an injury, they lost interest, they just got burned out, that connection is lost. Then they go off to college, and each one lives their own life. A child needs a belonging that is deeper than that. And the loneliness researchers will tell you where this leads. The number of close friendships has collapsed, and loneliness has become an epidemic for children too. Surrounded by teammates and classmates, but belonging really to no one. So in one sentence, our children's days are full, micromanaged, and outwardly focused, packed with achievement, preparation, and performance, and emptied of the three things that actually create meaning in a human's life: presence, beauty, and connection. We filled every hour of the day, but we starved the soul. And here's the proof that they're starving. Look at where they run to. Video games and screens. The cognitive scientist John Vervaeke explains the draw our kids have to video games so profoundly. Think about what a game gives a child: a story they matter in, clear rules, a way to grow and see it, and total absorption in the now. Meaning in cheap imitation. Our kids aren't addicted to screens. They're starving, and the screen is the only place that they get what their soul is craving. So if meaningless is the disease, the cure isn't therapy for the symptoms. The cure is to bring back meaning and beauty back into our kids' lives. But before I give you the three ways, I want to give you one crucial warning. Meaning cannot be explained. It has to be felt. The British psychiatrist and philosopher Iain McGilchrist called this the swimming problem. You can sit on the river bank with a manual, study every page, and announce that now you know how to swim, but you actually don't. You have to get into the water. It's exactly the same with your child. You cannot lecture a child into feeling connected. You cannot explain meaning to them over dinner and check the box. You can only put them in the water, build the experiences again and again, and let meaning do what meaning does: get felt. That's why everything that I'm going to share with you is a habit. It's not a conversation. And it turns out that there are exactly 3 channels through which meaning flows into a human soul. Let's open them up. Wisdom traditions and modern research on meaning converge on the same 3 relationships. Meaning enters a life through connection to people, connection to the real world, and connection to what's above us. So here's how we do it practically in today's world with our kids. The first way is connecting to people and creating real belonging. Belonging means that I'm a part of a family and a community, a group that I matter to no matter how well I perform, a group that exists before me and will exist after me, and my meaning comes from contributing to that group. And that is exactly what got crushed under the family schedule. So how do we get that back? We create family rituals, weekly, monthly, and yearly rituals. You've heard the 10 minutes of quality time advice 100 times already, and it's treating connection like an appointment. Belonging is not about that. Belonging is built through rhythms. A ritual is something that a family does together, the same way again and again. And that repetition is exactly what tells a child's soul, this is who we are, and I am a part of it. So build 3 levels of rituals: a weekly ritual, family night pizza, Sunday morning pancakes, a weekly game night. One anchor that nothing is allowed to move, no practice and no tournament. The schedule needs to serve the family again. Create a monthly ritual, a family hike, a visit to grandparents, something your child can see coming and count on. And a yearly ritual, the holiday traditions, an annual trip, the birthday costumes that only your family does. Rituals turn a household into a people, and a child who belongs to a people feels anchored and safe. And belonging doesn't stop at your front door. Give your child unstructured play. Play dates with no schedule, no activity, and no adult agenda. Just let kids figure out the world together. Foster connection with the neighbors. Open your back door to everyone, all ages, and let them come and play. And take the phone away during those activities. I know this one is a tricky one, so send this episode to other parents so they understand why it's so important. And the kids will understand too after they experience it. And one more thing. Make sure your kids see the same friends over and over again. Deep, intimate connection isn't built on variety, it's built on repetition. Same faces, week after week. That will give your child a sense of belonging. The second way to bring back meaning into your child's life is to connect them to the real world, to nature, beauty, and the present. Remember what I said at the beginning. Anxiety is amplified when we lose connection to what is real. This is where we repair it. A screen gives a child a picture of life. Nature gives them life itself, things that they can touch, smell, climb, and get dirty in. When a child's hands are in the real world, the world feels solid, and a child who feels the world is solid feels safe in it. And the beauty of nature is that it asks nothing of them. No grade, no score, no getting ready for anything. Here's what it can look like in a real week in your home. Eat outside without phones. Move the play dates outside. Again, no phones. Take a hike together as a family. Work in the garden side by side. The specific form doesn't really matter. What matters is that you find your way that your family connects to nature, and you do it regularly. So it becomes part of your rhythm, not a special event. The third way to bring back meaning into our kids' lives is to connect them to the sacred, to something bigger than themselves. And there are a few ways that we can do that. The first way is sacred rituals. Remember the rituals we talked about in the first point? When those rituals carry a spiritual meaning, a blessing, a holiday that your family keeps, belonging and holiness happen at the same time. The second way is awe in nature, because nature isn't only the way that your child touches what's real. Nature is a vehicle to experience the divine, a sunset, a storm, a night sky full of stars. And the third way is gratitude. One sentence before sleep every night. What's one thing you're grateful for today? Gratitude turns a child's face upward. It says without a single lecture, All the good that I have in my life comes from beyond me. And one more thing for you. Find out more about your own religious practices, what your tradition actually teaches beneath the surface. I can tell you from my own life, getting closer to the spiritual meaning of my religion has added tremendous value and meaning into my own life. It's what so many of the videos on this channel are about. So, out of the 3 ways I described in the beginning, the future-focused childhood, the lost outdoors, the schedule to death family, which one has the strongest grip on your home? Be honest. In my house, what was lacking was connection to the sacred, and I'm working now to restore that. It was something that I was missing in my childhood, and now that I am aware of its importance, I'm trying to bring it back into my own life and into my family's lives. Tell me in the comments which one is yours, and out of the habits that I broke down, which one do you want to adopt starting this week? So let me leave you with the bigger picture. The biggest problem of our generation isn't mental health. It's a lack of meaning and connection. And mental health is the symptom. Just look around at the adults. An entire generation is trying to find a way back to what's meaningful, seeking community, seeking mindfulness rituals and guidance, a thirst for real wisdom that was carried for centuries in so many spiritual and religious traditions. There are more Stoics alive today than there were in the entire Roman Empire. Adults everywhere are trying to recover at 40 what their childhood never gave them. But here's the hope. Our kids don't have to take the long road back. By changing small things in our kids' lives and schedules, we can reverse this trend and bring back meaning into their days. Now, while they're still children. And once they encounter that, once they taste real belonging, real beauty, real awe, they will want less screen time, less social media, less video games, not because we fought them for the phone, because the real world will be much more exciting. Now that brings me to the next conversation we have to have, because there is a new force entering our kids' world that raises the stakes on everything I said today: artificial intelligence. When AI can do the work for them, the only thing that will keep our kids learning and growing is connection to the learning itself. And that's exactly what I break down in my episode, Why AI is Destroying Your Kids' Motivation. If today's video was about bringing meaning back into our kids' lives, that one is about protecting it in the world they're about to grow up into. So I'll see you there.